and gravel right down where the well field, right where Salmon Creek runs. So you're going to drill a well either somewhere, either on the side where the wells are, the existing well field is now, or you might put a well on the other side, on the southern side, you know, towards the industrial park. And it's a limited, it's an area that is limited in extent, but it has very high production capability. So, you know, the negatives are definitely offset by the positive.
Skip, did you have something?
Mr. Mayor, as I understand it, we have a water right to Hills Creek Dam that we've never used. What about what? Nobody's addressed that. Nobody's saying anything about our water right to Hills Creek Dam.
I'll address that for you. Yeah. What's great, we have a 15-inch pipe that comes through there. We have right to the water. The only catch is Army Corps engineer is going to charge you for the storage of that water once you take it out. And that is, you wouldn't be able to afford the water. So that's the catch-22 of that agreement that they made when they built the dam, is they didn't consider that correct factor. Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. I have two questions, if I may. One is SHPO. Have you got a SHPO report on the ditch? And what did SHPO say?
Well, I don't have a SHPO report, but I spoke with the head of SHPO, and I do deal with SHPO all the time.
Can you let everyone know what SHPO is?
Okay.
I'd like to know what
okay. State Historical Preservation Office, and it's apparently there are people who seem to care about history. I'm not one of them. And the bottom line is that was a joke. Well, partially. The bottom line is that in any type of work that's funded by state or federal agencies, you have to look at a variety of factors, and one of them are you damaging or in any way impacting what would be considered a historical structure. The canal, because it was constructed in, I believe, in '46, is considered by the State Office of Historical Preservation to be a historical structure. That being said, they had no concerns about its demolition. All they would have the only requirement they would have is that a historian would have to go out, inventory the structure, write a small report, and then that's kept on file for you know, the foreseeable future.
Second question is, we got $85,643 for the cost of abandonment. What if we just walk away and say, you guys take care of it?
Sorry.
What's the option? I mean, well, it's a federal land. Part of it's actually Department of Transportation land, because it's in their right of way. So, and we don't have a permit to even be there.
Jerry, excuse me, there is a permit, and it went back some years back, and there's a research problem associated with it. But the Forest Service rules are, if you have a permit on their land, the original language will tell you when you've finished your operation, you've got to restore it.
So you've got that in the current permit that you can't find?
We don't have, well, I guess so. That's the correct
In other words,
and I searched high and low for that.
What I've seen from the Forest Service has never been a permit. It was a receipt in effect for a permit.
That's
but
correct.
There has never been a permit found that I'm aware of.
That's correct.
And I believe that it probably burned up in the fire, or it's somewhere else.
Good.
So, having not have a permit, how are they going to enforce that?
Well, they have basic rules, that's all I can tell you, and they're not going to let us pull off of there without doing a filling.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to get dodgy on you, but I'm not going to answer your question because I am a professional engineer and I got to obey the law.
Is that in the law?
Probably is. When I was leasing, as a footnote, Jerry, when I was leasing land from the government, I had to sign a contract that said when I left, I had to clean it up. It's gotta look like it did the day I.
And you probably have a copy of that contract.
I do.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything.
That's right, but that, my
Councilor
personal.
Coy.
That canal has been shut down, correct?
Correct.
So the water flow is no longer.
Correct.
So our
Correct.
ponds are gonna continue to dissipate at some rate that we don't know.
Correct.
At some point, if those ponds become empty, then we have to mitigate the ponds.
Correct.
What you
So
can't
that's
do
the
because
reason.
it's a wetland.
But no, there's PCBs in the
Yeah,
bottom of
you
that
got
pond.
two,
So
right.
we have to
That's
mitigate
exactly right.
and then
Two
restore
issues.
it back to
There's that
wetland
too.
standard.
Well, you also have to recognize that the DEQ is going to be running some tests to see if the fish are ingesting any PCBs from that which is in the silt. And they feel pretty confident that they haven't. So it's
That's
going to
correct,
release
yeah.
the
That's what I was
ponds
like.
for no further action on our part.
Getting back to what Ed's proposal is and what Larry actually bought into, which I also buy into, we aren't looking at just water for the current time. We have to be looking for water for the future time. And we don't have an option. Again, it's not an emergency right now, but it's going to be one day if we're going to do something. Because our wells, we're working on our wells now to try and get them back online, some of them. But we don't have anything to replace them with at this point, and keep the pond.
That's right.
We might have enough money. We might be able to dig up enough money or find enough money to put in the cheap option.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't solve the problem necessarily. It's just a Band-Aid for a long-term thing. So
Regardless, whatever you do, you're going to have to fill the ponds. At $86,000.
You mean the canal?
The canal. I'm sorry, thank you very much. That would be a big job, wouldn't it? The canals, you have to close them. That's
And,
got to be done.
And one of the things is that we made a suggestion to the Forest Service that be done by the city, and they kind of poo-pooed that idea that we wouldn't get it done in time or it wouldn't be done properly. But I think we can negotiate with them.
Correct.
That's really, Larry, despite getting wishy-washy and saying I can't answer that, the bottom line is I'd go after the Forest Service. I don't think their position is as strong as they can, and I would negotiate with them. Yes, I mean, I have an $86,000 estimate in there, but
Negotiation.
Negotiation.
that's based on following all of their stated requirements to the T.
my preference is we work jointly with them.
Yeah,
That would be my preference. They can say what they want, but if they're not paying for anything, it talks cheap. But I think that if we work jointly with them, we can probably get the same result.
That's what you, yeah, one would hope.
That concludes the steering committee's report, sir.
Very good report, thank you.
Yes,
Don.
sir, and thank you,
Thank
Ed.
you, Ed. I
It's
appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
Well, I know it has not into history, but I maybe this question can't be answered. But at what point in time did the ponds that was developed and maintained by a private corporation and not the city, at what point in time did they fall under federal jurisdiction regarding wetlands?
The day, pretty much the day we purchased the property.
Well, no, it's really an interesting, like many regulations, it somewhat defies common sense, but the Corps of Engineers just looks at a wetland. They don't care where it comes from, whether it was made by God or some other force, or whether it is man-made or woman-made. It is a wetland. It is there. If for any reason it is destroyed, you have to replace it. Whoever owns it, you have to have mitigation. So you, in effect, Hope and Talbot has made those wetlands out there, or the city has by taking them over. It is now the city's responsibility to replace those wetlands if you should, for some reason, let
If
them
you
dry.
have standing water in your yard, it can be deemed wetland.
I asked what the criteria was of the engineer who determines wetlands and what they are, He says when you walk through it and you get swish, 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 it's wetland.
Yeah, you got wetlands out there. Yeah, no lack.
So when it rains 1 inch and you walk in your backyard, swish, 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 everybody's property is wetlands. And
You have a wetland.
under the
That's right.
jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers, right?
Right.
Where do we go from here? I mean, I actually think we probably, everybody agrees that we have to do the well and the tank. I mean, we've known that for a while. But as far as all the other stuff, as far as wetlands and all that kind of stuff, what
Well, once
Where
the
we going from
decision,
here?
once the decision to set a course is made, in other words, you pick an option, then it's a matter of looking for the funding. Ed can come up with some, and the city can come up with some, and it might take you several years in order to achieve that. My big concern, and Louis laughed at me, is I said at this particular time, I don't think it's advantageous to raise the water rates to cover that, because you understanding that if you get half of it funded and half of it not, you're going to have to raise your water rates. So that's my 2 cents. But you need to have the information of what the cost is, where you can get the funding, and how much you got to come up with, and then you make a decision: do we go forward or no? That's where I see it being.
So, the main funding arm of the state of Oregon is IFA, Infrastructure Finance Authority, and they've got a pretty good deal that they will give grants of up to $20,000 for funding feasibility of water improvement and wastewater improvement projects. The application for this grant is due at the end of April each calendar year. And so what I'd recommend to the committee is, if you want to pursue this option, I'm more than happy. Since I want to do all this work, it kind of behooves me to go and find some money to do it. So I'm more than happy to go and try and get one of these grants. And then you can use it to fund preliminary engineering, and most importantly, to fill out all the paperwork, take care of all the reporting that the funding agencies require to apply for grants and loans. And so that's what I would pursue. You essentially, I would try and get this technical feasibility grant, that's what it's called. Once I get that, do all preliminary engineering that's required by the various funding agencies, then submit what's called a letter of interest to the funding agencies later on this year. And then, depending on how it ranks and sorts out, they will come back with a decision on whether they're going to fund the project or not in the next calendar year. So about a year from now.
So you would need basically the council to say, we need to go after this grant.
Yep.
So
Wouldn't
Well-
it?
Well,
Oh.
go ahead.
Okay. Wouldn't it make sense for us to explore option 5, since doesn't it in essence encompass option 4 as well? And it's kind of our, I mean, what if we go out there and find out there's millions of dollars just waiting to be given to us? Well, we've done the groundwork for our dream option, and it includes the next best option as well.
No, and I appreciate what you're saying, Councilor Slavin. And here's the bottom line: everyone has an MO, and here's my MO. If I go out and I find that there is, if I could get another deal like I got Young's River, and I could come back to you guys and say, I can get you 1.3 million bucks with 50% of it grant, and the rest is 1% 30 year. I'm not going to tell you just drill the well. I'm going to say do it all.
I
So-
actually thought we were going after number 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that would be,
that's kind of, you know,
that would
whatever.
be our recommendation, but we thought we should give you guys the option to that, but you really can't make that decision until you get some actual cost estimates and what it's going to do to your water rates, because even though you're getting 1% for 30 years, it's still going to take some money in water. But, you know, I think people don't appreciate that one day they might not be able to flush the toilet or get drinking water, then they start screaming. And so they'll scream about the cost, and yet they'll scream louder when they don't have it. So that's a decision you people are elected to make. Good, I'm not there.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we pursue option number 5 and throw this back onto our committee and our city engineer to come up with funding presentation regarding funding and stuff for the project.
Was that a motion?
It was.
I'll second it. The TFA, you're talking about going after the TFA grant, the technical feasibility.
Whatever this committee comes back to us with, I mean, what options are there, what funding is available, but go with number 5.
But isn't what you were talking about though, going after this $20,000
Yeah,
grant
that's
to
the first
perform the
step.
feasibility study
Yeah.
to come back and say, hey.
Well, I mean, aren't they just asking us to say whether or not we agree with their recommendation, the committee at this
They
point?
are asking, I believe, for us to pick an option, an alternative at this point. Sounds like you're picking alternative 5 with some stipulations to the engineer. Right, Brett?
That was my motion.
Well, the committee recommends alternative 4 in this paper right in front
Well,
of
we
me.
did because
We like
we
alternative
thought that
5.
would be a hard
Okay.
sell to go.
Okay.
My thought is you can always go for alternative 5 if you can't get the money, nothing if you can't drop back to alternative 4.
Sounds like a plan.
So, you heard the motion, I'm not gonna repeat it.
I would say it needs to be amended to actually pursue the grant to go after
Sure.
the feasibility study money.
I think that was part of the
I
motion.
would agree to that.
Okay,
I'll
If I
second.
wasn't clear, you cleared it up.
Okay, I would second the motion.
okay, the motion is that we select option 5, alternative 5, direct the city engineer to pursue grant under, what do you call it?
Technical feasibility.
Technical feasibility grant.
Yeah.
That's about all I
Yes.
can remember. And, a second by Councilor Coyle. Any further discussion? I hope not.
Well, I'd just like to say, I'd like the committee, the steering committee, still be involved in this whole process.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it basically falls back to the committee to work with the city engineer.
What you pay us for?
And I might add that they've done an outstanding job on
They
this.
have.
Yes.
All right, call for a vote.
Councilor Fortune,
Aye.
Councilor Clark. Aye. Mayor Short.
Aye.
Councilor Cody,
Aye.
Councilor Bakerstaff,
I,
Councilor Baszler,
Aye.
Councilor Slavin,
Aye.
Motion carries.
If I could pick my check up by Monday, I'm headed to Hawaii for 6 days.
So you don't bring it over.
Yeah, somebody up front there. Your Honor, for anyone.
Check should have made it. We'll
I
skip
think
it
a
over.
couple of hard copies of this in the office if you want to come grab it. This is February.
Thanks,
Is
Ed.
that
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. It's a pleasure to meet all the new councilors.
You should be good.
Good luck. All right, we'll see you.
Here's somebody's coat.
That's,
I think that's
That's John's.
John.